Hey guys, Williams Mug Soap, Feather Blade, Gillette Sheraton Vintage Razor, and Semogue Taj, which is the handle here, Semogue Owners Club Boar Brush, which is their special grade of boar hair. Quick intro. And I've got a little test I'm going to do today, actually two of them, one with the soap and one with the razor and blade. Now this feather is 153 uses approximately, and this is the blade. The feather is one that many call the sharpest or among the sharpest, and you know they're all sharp because they're razor blades, right? But you know, I also had experiences learning, and this is a marathon blade, and so I put a special mark with a dot and an X so that you could see that it's the same razor each time. When I was new with shaving, the feather did treat me differently than the other razors. I'd get more cuts, and so I put it aside, got some wisdom that I should hold and wait and try that blade again later. And I did that. My 5-6 months later, my technique had improved just with me just trying to shave better. Nothing really super specific, just trying to do better. And then the feather's great. I can shave with it anytime I want now. So it is different. Maybe it's ground different, maybe at a sharper angle, microscopically, you know, who knows? But it is slightly different than many of the blades out there, at least to me. Now, maybe there's some guys out there who it treats them the same as it does, as Astras do, or Gillette Silver Blues, or Pole Silvers, or whatever. So, with this feather getting up in age, I want to put it in a different razor. It's a little too smoothed out to be in mild razors now. And so I'm going to put it in this Sheraton razor, which was key in helping me get my Nasset up to 100. Will it be the same for the feather? I don't know. I'm very curious about that. So that's the one test. The something else I'm going to do, I have done a whole month of shaving with Williams. That was in 2018. I used a boar brush, and I enjoyed it. I experimented with different types of shaves. I've got a video out there. If you look for Sugar Daddy Shaves, Sugar Daddy _shaves, Williams, how to lather Williams mug soap, then you'll probably find it. And it was a video I was going to do just to show that very thing. And then it happened to work out really well. And so I went ahead and published that video. So that one's out, and that's a bowl lathering method. Now, it's Williams mug soap for a reason, so let's see if we can just stick with a mug. Previously, I was loading from the mug. This is a vintage Hazel Atlas mug that's exactly the same size at the bottom as a puck of Williams mug soap. This is not the vintage formula, so it's a little harder to get a great lather with it. Now, my lather video that I showed you showed a lot of compared to many of the cropes out there nowadays, a lot of work to get that lather elastic, slick, creamy, because that is achievable with Williams, and a lot of people don't know that. They think that Williams dissipates. It doesn't if you do it right. So I thought I was doing a test lather with this very soap, and I tried something. And this is the second test today. If I put, and as you can see, I put some water in there several minutes ago. I put 8 teaspoons of water on a dry Williams puck that hadn't been used in a month. I'm going to shake out kind of the amount of water I usually do. And then what I did was I had the water in there, and I just started mixing. And I assumed, hey, what if I just mix until I get a lather? See what happens if I do that. If I mix too vigorously, that's a lot of water, and so maybe I put too much, but let's just see what happens. Because, see, Williams is one of the first American soaps, and a lot of men have used Williams for a lot of years, and its slickness is top notch. its slickness can compete against, and I mean this sincerely, pretty much any soap out there. It just doesn't have the post-shave characteristics that a lot of the soaps these days do, and it's more work to make it happen. At least I haven't found a method that makes it kind of an easy lather to achieve. The lather in its top form. I haven't gotten that. I should have noticed when I started working this. Now see, already I've got a kind of a milky slurry, but let's just keep going. I could have possibly put too much water in here, so that could slow me down. Let's be a little bit more vigorous and knock a little bit of the water out. And so what we're basically doing is let's stir up enough soap to kind of match the water that we've got in there. And we'll just see, because I did a test lather the other day with that very concept in mind. I just poured some water in there, went at it. I think I had a boar brush that I just wanted to put through a wet and dry cycle. You know, I didn't really care too much about the lather. And so I got into this soap with it. And then I liked the lather that I got. And what could be more simple than putting some water in your mug and just stirring till it looks right? You know, so that's what today is about. Now we're starting to get some bubbles. As the water overflows a little bit with suds and soap and stuff, it definitely makes the sides of the mug slippery, so be careful there. Now, who knows? Maybe this is using up, wasting soap. I don't know. It's cheap. I'm just playing around with it. Be interesting to see if this method is better, faster, you know, than my other one. Yeah, so I definitely have a wet lather in the cup here. So what if we just kind of kept it as a face lather today? Because this is kind of a low maintenance experiment. If I believe that this could go differently, I may then take this and pour it into a bowl and then continue to work it that way. That could be one way to go. Get my face wet here. I did shower before today's shave, and I used actually a glycerin soap on my face, so that's atypical for me. All right, so let's just start face lathering with this. Let me show you what kind of consistency we're dealing with here. Very wet, very bubbly. And if you start Williams off with a lot of water, it does get this bubbly. But when I'm working with it in my bowl, one of the secrets that is not intuitive, keep mixing. Keep mixing. It'll thicken up, it'll get creamy, and you'll get to a lather that you just wouldn't expect from Williams. And my video shows that. All right. If I remember, I'll try to put a link to that video in the description of this one, so for easy reference. All right, so just start out. I got this wet stuff here. I'm going to put my cup kind of under my face. I don't know if it's going to just dump out a bunch of water right now or what. Let's just kind of start mixing really light. Just see what happens here. This brush feels good. It's a good one to do this with. We are starting to get messy, but let's just see what happens. Now, perfectly good lather is kind of starting to float around here, and I don't want to waste that. So I took some of the lather off the side of the brush, kind of raked it back into the mug. Look at that. Well, I definitely have enough soap in play. And it is creamy. This may be the quickest route to a creamy Williams lather. Now, it looks like I am going to have to fine tune it, kind of like a face lather of wood, because that is in fact kind of what I'm doing. So let's pull in some water, add it to my brush. Sure looks like maybe I spent too much time with the soap, because I kind of thinking I've got too much of a concentration of soap on my face here. And this is with hard water, so it'll be even better if you have soft water. Rake off some of this lather into the mug. Nice density in this boar brush here. It's very popular for a reason. It'll start to open up even more as I use it. One thing about loading too much soap is you have to use up the time to kind of break it back down to add water to it, so that you are dealing with the right consistency. If you shave with it while it's, too thick, too much soap, too dry, then it's not going to be as nice to your skin. See, look at that. That is some creaminess right there. And I could wipe all that off right there. This is definitely worth fine-tuning a little bit. So obviously the length of time that I just loaded for was, too long. Unless you like your lathers really dry. You could stop now, but I like a really hydrated lather. And as you can see, I keep adding water and taking away lather. I'm scraping the lather off the side of the brush. Now I'm cleaning the handle just to let my fingers grip it easier. There we go. So I'm adding water in the center, mixing it on my face, and there's so much soap concentrate in the brush that it just gives me more lather. It keeps the lather factory. And eventually it'll slow down to where all of a sudden you're adding water and you're not just getting tons of lather, more lather manufactured. I've just added 2 teaspoons to the brush here gradually as we've been talking. Let's go ahead and kind of shave with this. There's definitely plenty of people that don't believe that you can get this kind of lather with Williams. And again, this is modern Williams. It's got less tallow. Doesn't feel quite as good, but still feels real good. Scent is not very strong because I've used this one a few times, and so the scent has had a chance to dissipate. It's a very strong citronella when you first kind of start using it, but just let it sit out if you don't like that scent, and it'll ease into a very mild, what I would call a soapy scent. Oh, and this feels, the slickness on this is just crazy. Really. The contact slickness as my skin touches skin and I move it across, phenomenal. I have to take another shower. Okay, so Feather, how are you going to do here? 1 day's worth of growth as usual. Yep, sure enough, it's tugging just a tiny bit, but this is much better than what the Feather has done in many other razors. Now it's time to make a list and kind of just run through my razors and see which ones. I mean, because I'm not a glutton for punishment. And maybe the Feather, maybe this Feather, I'm not going to be able to get to 100 with. You know, I'm not trying to set any records. I'm just curious. Kind of a scientist at heart. A little bit of tugging. Now the second and third passes are going to be great. So all you have to put up with is that tugging in the beginning. And now I can take a wet hand and feel my face, and it is slick. Wonderfully slick. A little half rinse now. You know, that may be one of the best ways to tell if your lather can use more water. If you go for your rinse after your pass, and then the water almost activates on your face and turns into magical slickness, and it takes you a while to get it off, you probably could use some more water in your lather because you're probably dealing with kind of a concentrate there. All right, so I'm not going to do anything to the brush here. This is just how it was left on the last pass. Kind of looks like there's plenty of lather on here. And it is definitely ready to escape. I have already kind of scrubbed well enough on the first pass. Yeah, this lather could still use a little bit more water. So one thing you can do is rub a little bit like that to get kind of a hole in the middle of the brush. You can definitely do other techniques, like just dip the tips of the brush in, you know, your sink water. I don't have a sink full of water, so that's not really an option for me. Who knows what my little 9-year-old boy has done with this sink. Kind of frogs he's killed in here or whatever. Yeah, see the lather's getting slicker and creamier as I add this water. I do like to bowl lather better for this reason, all this work I'm having to do to adjust. Of course, you know, it's kind of user error. I loaded for too long, as it turns out, but, you know, we're experimenting here. So I could reduce this amount of maintenance time, kind of fix it time by loading for a little bit less time. All right, now, cross grain with the Feather. Yep. Comfortable. Hear it working a little bit. Not tugging at all. And let me tell you, if it gives me a close shave, then I guess it's still sharp, right? So there's guys who are claiming that they're throwing away their feather after 3 shaves. Even if I've got a less than average density beard or something like that, and I may have a little bit, but not by much. Or even if I have super soft hairs, and I don't think that's the case. And I don't think their feather blade is dull after 3 shaves. I think it's still plenty sharp. But that's okay. You know, if you want to throw away your feather sooner, if you just want to use it one time, I mean, that's up for you. That's up to you. It's your call. All right. Face feels great. Rinse. So it looks like the strategy of putting some water in, and look at this lather right here. It is tremendous. And this actually still needs a little bit more water. So what I could do, and I think I started saying this a second ago, don't expect to keep working the lather until it looks like a lather in the mug. I probably need to quit while it still looks like a milk or something like that. Might be worth trying. And I'm getting an excellent glide. The slickness is exactly what I told you. It's amazing. Notice how I'm holding the razor. I think this is one of the reasons I get a lot of blade life. Light touch. I hold it in the center or close to one point in the razor's balance, because then the razor head can kind of move along over the contours of my face. Now this is the third pass, so I'm going to do my little stroke this way, which is across the grain in this little area right here. Oh, I see, I can feel that slickness. It's across the grain right there, but going at it just like this does a slightly different cross the grain pass than what I've been doing the whole shave. It's coming at it from the other side. And that's one of the secrets, for me at least, for that little patch of hair. Wow, the face feels great. The cut looks very good. Let's do a full rinse. I got a nice close cut here. There's a few hairs that are showing a little bit of length, but I'm not worried about that. That's fine. Face feels great. I did feel just a couple little tender spots around, but not a big deal. I was probably just moving a little too fast. And for the post shave today, while I've still got some moisture on my face, I'm going to hit it up with Elysium. It is an alcohol-free splash by Storybook, and it's got other goodies in it, like witch hazel, aloe, vegetable glycerin, and nothing else I recognize. All right. I'm going to shake it up because it's kind of a mixture, just in case that's what I need to do. And this has a interesting scent. It does have a couple of notes, I think like peppermint, that I'm not usually a fan of. And so I wanted to try this guy out. Storybook has stopped or plans to stop making this soap and splash. It was part of their regular routine for quite a while. And so before I sell it, if I do, I wanted to give it a good try. And you know what? I did experience a little bit of stinging. Maybe it's the fragrance. I'm not exactly sure what did that. But that's okay. Did bring up a little bit of red, but I bet that'll go away pretty soon. Sometimes that happens with me. Well, wow. So I can go back on the video and look and see how long I loaded and worked that 8 teaspoons of water on top of the soap. And then I could make a plan from there. If I did it for 5 minutes, then I could probably reduce that by half easily, because here, look at the mug. I started putting lather back into, look at that pillowy, cushiony lather. I started putting that back in, and the soap only goes up to here. So I was basically refilling the lather back up. I'm going to do this again tomorrow. I'm really curious. And it was a great time. It was a good brush. No scritch, anything like that at all. It worked the lather really well with my face. And right now it hasn't really started to open up a lot because it's still kind of in its early days, maybe even just the 4th use from me. And so it's got, the Owners Club is known for blooming up kind of big. If you don't like that and you have a brush that does that, I've had an Omega that kind of does that, and a Semogue, another Semogue, the 2000, has kind of a long loft. You can take an O-ring right above this silver one, place an O-ring, rubber, silicone, whatever you find, and it will hold in the bloom a little bit. Maybe how much you need. Now, I am feeling kind of almost like a menthol feeling. That could be that peppermint. Not exactly sure which thing that is. Menthol often will make me feel kind of a burning sensation rather than something nice like a refreshing sensation. So I often don't like it. I do have a little bit of redness here, but it's not really translating into any kind of irritation, just the kind of the burning. All right. It's got some neat parts to this scent. I can't remember right now exactly. I think it had some cedar and sandalwood kind of as the base, and then some peppermint, maybe lavender, and something else. Was this the one with amorous? But anyway, it had some other stuff on top and then some woodiness on the bottom. And so it was they named it Elysium, which was, I think, kind of the Greek term for heaven or a peaceful place. And that's where they're trying to take you with this splash. Now, their Storybook soap base is terrific. If you can find some Elysium or Hook or Shaken, that's the one I was trying to, a few days ago, I did a shave, and I couldn't remember the other scent from them that I really like. I think there's 4 or 3. The Hallward's Dream, tremendous. Shaken, and love the soap. And then the Hook, I like a lot. All right, well, the Sheraton, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to keep trying with it. It didn't do as nice with me as the Nasset, when the Nasset was this old. So we'll try some different things. Maybe an adjustable Fat Boy or Slim with a higher setting than I usually go with. We could try that. Who knows? We'll see whatever I feel like next. All right. There we go. That is the shave in the books. And what was that? Was that 53? Yeah, so this is 54 if my dots are correct. The computer's correct. If sometimes the dots get out of sync because at the end of the shave, I'm wrapping things up and I forget to put the dot on there with the Sharpie. All right. I'm a happy camper. I hope there was something here for you. I learned that, man, this was a fairly fairly easy way to whip up a rich, thick lather with Williams. I mean, it's foolproof. You just take your brush, you put some water in your cup, let it sit there for a few minutes. This was even cold water. It wasn't even hot water. And just work it for a little while. Somebody once told me, Williams is a mug soap for a reason. They call it that for a reason. And at the time, I don't believe I understood what he was getting at. But I think maybe this is exactly that. Lather it in, kind of work it up in the mug for a little bit. Instead of just trying to load it, try to make kind of the early pinnings of the lather. Try to make maybe a slurry might be the best way to go here. Then I can move that to a bowl and finish working at the last bit. That may be the best way to lather Williams. Who knows? I'm really curious. All right, we'll see. We'll see. Play around with it. I'm definitely going to rinse off the sides of my mug. Keep that from being slippery and messy. And I told you kind of the other part that I learned about the blade and this razor. It's tolerable, but not super comfortable. Just a little tuggy. And I'll see if there's another razor that I have that treats me a little better at this stage of this blade's life. So there we go. That's what I learned today. Hope there was something good here for you. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. You take care. Good night.